Hello everybody and welcome to another exciting, fun-filled, expeditious episode of Radiorama, where, as the name implies, I show you how to work on radios and other things that tend to run on glowing vacuum tubes. And today we have this rather pristine 1946 Zenith model 8H034. Kind of an unusual one. I've worked on the Boomerangs models before. This is a pretty late Boomerang. And it's interesting because it has two FM bands. Now, in radio collecting land, we like to call the old, there's obsolete FM and then there's modern FM. Obsolete FM was a short-lived band, a short-lived FM frequency. Long story behind that one, but basically RCA kind of screwed over Edwin Howard Armstrong, who was the inventor of the original FM circuit, in favor of lobbying to get the frequency changed so that it made his frequency obsolete. And the FCC came in and said there'll be a transition period between old and new FM. So between 1945 and 1947, if you had a radio that had FM, chances are it would have come with two FM bands. So anyway, I don't know if it works or not. It's in really nice physical condition. This is the original finish. As you can see, it's got the embedded gold print here. There's not a lot of wear on it. Let's go ahead and fire this up. And that's a good sign. We have a pilot light. I'm not sure if it's supposed to have one or two. It could be that one of them's burned out, or maybe it just has one. I'm on the FM 45. There's audio with no hum, really.
Wing service.
Well, we've got no standard, no AM broadcast. It could just be because the wafer switch is dirty, or the volume control is dirty, or the tube sockets are dirty, or we have bad tubes, or something else. Don't know. I don't know if it's ever been worked on, or if it has, what has been done. The cord on this is really stiff. That needs to be replaced. You know, if you got a cord that kind of stands up by itself like that, that's not a good sign. And I bet if we bend it, it's going to show cracking. See how it doesn't recover, like it basically has a memory? Well, it should be flexible, so we'll need to replace that. These knobs need to come off, the back needs to come off, and then the bottom screws that hold it in need to come out so we can investigate the guts. Now look here, we have the remnants of the Armstrong FM sticker. It's interesting, Zenith, they were big proponents of using the Armstrong FM design. I think Armstrong later made his own updated FM circuit to go along with the FCC. So we're going to take... Oh, thank you. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You too, thank you.
Amazon delivery just came by. And we'll take these screws out and we'll take a look inside. I'm curious, what kind of tubes does it have? Is it going to have any miniatures, or is it going to be all octals, or is it going to be a mixture? Some of these post-war sets will have a mixture of like octals, and sometimes even a miniature or two thrown in there. It's a real mixed bag. There's a lot of technological changes that happened in a short order. And why is that stuck? Okay. Just at first glance, it looks like it's all octal tubes. I'll have to glue that back together again. But we'll take the screws out of the bottom, and then it does have two pilot lights, so one of them must be burned out. So we'll take the chassis out and look and see what has or has not been done to it. Well, here we go. It is indeed all octal tubes. And interesting because it wasn't too long afterwards that Zenith started using solid-state rectifiers on their radios. They went from using, well, they would go with selenium rectifiers, and this one still is using a rectifier tube, which I kind of like because those solid state early rectifiers should usually be replaced. And we look underneath, and it's all original under here. It is a hot chassis set, and Zenith clearly knew that because they have these nylon spacers so that the screws go through, and if you touch the screws, you're not touching the chassis. And on top of that, we have spacers between both of the volume and the, let's see, is there a spacer there? Yeah, see, this isn't actually touching the chassis, it's going through here, and then this whole thing is mounted on this wafer, so that's isolated too. And then they've got this cover on the back, even though there's another cover. They're covering all their bases here, which I really appreciate about this brand. You can do hot chassis if you're smart about how you physically isolate the chassis from the user. Now I can tell this is going to be not fun. We have 3 electrolytic capacitors crammed up in here in that corner. We also have this rotten rubber wiring in some cases, and that's going to be a little tricky. I don't know, this is not one of the funnest radios to work on, but I've certainly worked on worse. This reminds me of Zenith's pre-war sets more than anything. Its construction, its tightness, the use of the shitty wiring. But the fact that it still works is still pretty remarkable. You've got an 80-year-old radio that still works somewhat, and you couldn't really ask that out of modern electronics today. Okay, well, now it's time to get the work underway. I did check the values of this electrolytic, and they're all the same. They're 40 microfarads each, and so I don't need to pay attention really to which symbol is embossed on the bottom because they're all the same. I think to make some room, I'm going to replace these paper caps that are around it because the replacements are going to be a lot smaller and easier to tuck away and hide, so that I can have more room to install our new electrolytics. And since it's chassis ground, I can install the negatives wherever I want. So if I need to make room, I can. Okay, well, this is definitely a challenging set. These capacitor connections are just buried. So it took a little bit of doing to replace these 3 electrolytics. We got one here, and one there. I just had to get creative with where I put my my leads. Before I get too carried away, what I'm going to do is clean the contacts on this, and then I'm going to fire it up again. A, see if it's still working. B, see if there's any improvement in function. Alright, so I'm going to bring it up, well, turn it on through my Variac here. Isolated Variac, rather. That pilot light sure was very bright on an initial. I guess sometimes they do that. I'm not sure what band I'm on.
Our website also includes information on the type of...
Well, that's great. So now we have AM as well as FM. And they seem to be pretty sensitive, even though we've got the majority of the old crappy capacitors still in here. There's another electrolytic here that needs to be replaced. It's not very complicated to replace these guys. They have the values written on them. 0.05 microfarads, 200 volts, 0.05, 0.05, 0.05, a whole bunch of those 0.05 microfarad caps. Voltage, it's important that you're at or more of the voltage. I go with 630 volt DC caps across the line. That's just nice standard. I mean, you're not really saving that much money by going cheaper or by going less voltage. It's just a good insurance to make sure this is going to operate nice and reliably for hopefully many more years. What I tend to do when I'm replacing capacitors, because I don't want to lose my place, is I'll observe the value, I'll get the right capacitor, and then I'll clip just one end of the capacitor and get it out of the way and install one end of the new capacitor, and then clip the other side, and then you know, I want to keep my leads as short as possible too. A lot of people, when they start doing this, they'll put these long wiggly leads in there, and that's no good. Well, that was a huge time suck. I've worked on consoles that have less capacitors than this thing has. If we do a count here, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20 capacitors. But the good news is that it still works well, with one exception, and it's a very small exception, which is one of the pilot lamp bayonet fixtures is burned out. Well, I mean, it's shorted. So what I'm going to have to do is replace that bayonet outlet, which is no big deal. That's not good. I wonder if that means that I need to remove the bulb from the outlet. That sounds very unhappy all of a sudden.
Donate your car today. Donate your car today at Cars for Kids.
Only the most annoying jingle ever.
Is doing the right thing in trying to bring about policies that could bring
In real time.
As always, Kaylee, there seems to be a lot on the minds of logisticians and supply chain experts. Flaming obsession on Peacock. From the author of Big Little Lies comes the new Peacock original, Apples Never Fall. In response to Matt Hanafran's comments, Agent for J.D. Davis, quote, "We did formally offer J.D. just slightly under $6.4 million, matching the raise of what we believed world-class."
So, where the love go? 5, 4, 3, 2, I let one.
Went ahead and issued a special traffic advisory because it was taking so long. So we're at the tail end of this one, though. I still see very heavy traffic northbound and...
It is actually fairly sensitive on FM, which is unusual for a mid-40s radio.
Atherton, they did clear that crash, but now we have
that's
another
KQED, that's
problem.
NPR.
It's a stall on South 101 after San Antonio Road block.
Like, that's a local jazz station. I have a hard time picking that up on most of my modern radios.
Department officials and presidents, you know, they're always talking.
I mean, does it sound amazing? But not really. But I mean, the speaker's only like that big, so. But the fact that it's very sensitive on FM is really impressive. Like, I know that was a pain in the butt to rebuild, but sometimes it's worth it when you get nice performance like that. All right, now that we got the guts pretty much done, I need to replace this cord. These are not as easy. What you have to do is you have to kind of gently fold back these tabs here so they're straight up, so you can push that phenolic piece out, and then you have to put your new cord through in, make a knot through the back so you don't yank it out of there. They did away with this design pretty quickly, I think, because it just wasn't very service friendly. All right, welcome to day number 2 of working on the Zenith, and I'm going to replace this socket. These are not really repairable because they're kind of stamped together. So I found a replacement socket, and we'll just wire that in. And I've decided I'm not going to add an audio input to this. I think it's more of a collector radio, and collectors don't like having that. Besides, it's got good FM, so you can use it to listen to NPR or whatever music is on FM these days, so it's fine. Okay, so we got light bulbs glowing. Those don't seem very bright. There were 44s that were in it when I got it. Maybe it takes 47s. Usually 47s are more typical for non-transformer sets in the US. Okay, so now that the electronics are more or less done, and by the way, the 47 bulbs were the right choice. I'm going to go over it with some new car wax to kind of polish up and snazzy up the case a little bit. We're going to actually auction this radio off at our fundraising event in July. I might even have to bid on it. I like the way this thing looks. But I've got so many radios right now, it's not even funny. So maybe not. All right, well, let's put it back together again.
Companies invest in talent and advance employees' careers. More at American Opportunity.
That's NPR. The very far end of the dial is very clean. That's the very difficult to pick up jazz station.
National security and free speech. No.
But he left in place 10 others against Trump.
And then, of course, there's good old-fashioned AM radio.
Shot the pregnant mother.
In the search for a running mate, and
no solo pierdan. Win over the Louisville Cardinals. Their head coach Kevin Keith.
Peter is our example today.
Buses to trailers, the alignment Kardehan, New York.
Anyway, I think this turned out really well. I have been in discussion with the board at the Radio Museum, and I do think we need to put this in the auction. I've seen one or two of these, and for some reason they're always in really crappy shape, but this one is a good survivor. I like the fact that it's got the original finish, because a lot of these guys, 80 years does a lot of stuff to the finishes, and this one is clearly taken very well care of. But as far as this episode of Radiorama, that's the end of this episode. Thanks so much for watching. Until the next time something comes across the workbench, I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.